Well, good morning, everybody. Rise and shine for those of you who are still up in the States. And if you're over in Europe and just getting up, good morning. All right. So, welcome to we'll say, an early edition of Value Conversations, your next spoken word. Glad everyone can join me if you can live. Otherwise, as you always know, you can catch me on the replay. So, today's topic, I thought about this from looking at aspects of men getting themselves in positions where sometimes they don't make a good choice in the lady that they are spending their time with. Now, we can make bad choices as men, the same as women can make poor choices themselves. But today's show, we're going to focus on you ladies, on what you need to do in recognizing how to make sure that this man is going to be there for your care and protection. Hence today's topic. His care and protection isn't automatic. You still need to qualify. Now, I'm sure some will look at that as being a little bit ominous or I need to qualify. Why would I need to go through all this? I'm the prize. So, again, this goes back and forth when we talk about who's the prize, who's to be the most cherished one in the relationship. I'm not going to make it about that right about now. What I want to do right now is in this particular show, ladies, I want you to take a look at what a man is going to expect for his care and his protection. The same as we looked at in the last show where we talked about how your submission has a price tag. Just to bring us back just a couple of steps to lay the groundwork for this show. Ladies, as you recall in the last show, your submission, again, is a price tag that he has to meet. And your submission, again, should be equal to or viewed as your trust. You should be able to trust that man that you're going to dedicate your life to. You should be able to look at him as you're dating and be able to see the man that you want to marry in the guy that you're dating. That's something that you need to see, and it is also your choice. You control that. You do not have to say yes to a man unless you're in arranged marriages, but outside of the extreme, you do not have to say yes to anyone that you do not feel comfortable to who is going to ensure your safety and your well-being. That's something that you have complete control over. Always remember that. So when you hear the word submission pop up, don't think of it as being subservient. As I said before, it is not about you doing the bidding of someone else and not having any choice. Your choice to show him submission, again, to give him your trust, that is all yours. That is your choice to make. And if he meets that by showing you through his actions, whether it's 2 months, 2 years, or however long it takes for him to show you that he will be there for you and provide and care for you, it is up to you to make that decision. And if you do, understand that there is a level of commitment that is supposed to come back from him as well. But his level of commitment that he requires is through care and protection, meaning that you show the appreciation, but at the same time, it's up to you to make sure in you he sees the wife that he wants out of the woman that he's dating, or in a particular situation who he's courting. All right, so if you guys will stand by for a second, let me go ahead and post this link. So give me just one moment. As I was telling Fatty, if I have an idea that pops up like this one did, I probably won't schedule it through YouTube. Instead, what I'll end up doing is going ahead and just kicking the show off inside, kicking off inside of my OBS studio, which is what I'm using right now. There we go. So, provided Fatty hasn't fallen asleep, some of you who see this right now may have gotten alerted through this link that I just sent him. Otherwise, like I said before, you can just catch it on the replay. Hey, what's going on, Robert? Appreciate you for stopping in, man. Just about set here. I just need to go ahead and email this also, just in case, like I said, if Fatty fell asleep. All right, done deal. So that's out of the way. So let's go ahead and get into this. So yeah, Rob. Like I said, submission has a voluntary component, and that's what I spoke of, where I stated that her submission, again, look at it as being trust. She has to be willing to trust him. She has to volunteer that trust for this man to provide for her. So therefore, again, if she sees in him what she wants from that husband, then her trust, aka her submission, will be something easily that she can provide and give to him in order for the relationship to go forward. But then the reverse now is that we have to expect her to understand that his care and protection is not something to just simply dismiss, to be expected. There's also a level of work that she needs to provide as well. So we're talking about reciprocity overall. So in getting started, when you look at this, you have to ask a question here. Um, what type of significant other are you? What can that other person expect from you? Are you open? Are you closed off? Are you more expectant of others uh, to do for you than you're willing to do for them? These are some of the things that we never really get into right off the bat, because the first thing that we're looking for is sex. And I don't care what age you get to, that's always going to be the coin. That's going to be the topic, because remember, and I'll mention this again, we all look for certain aspects before we get started in a relationship. There's something that we're trying to get to. Now, as you get a little bit further down the chain, or if you fed your need for sex at a at a rate of 2, 3 times a week, who knows how many times a month, sometimes it's just getting there that's more enjoyable, as far as just trying to get clothes off of each other. We want to take the time to figure out, am I going to open myself up? Am I going to share things? And if I am sharing things, am I getting that in return? Now, I can say there's been some instances where I've opened myself up to have a conversation just so I can be capable of judging whether or not someone's going to meet me halfway, and I have not seen that reciprocated. Now, I don't know how many people have a level of experience in dating. I don't know how far it goes back, but let's think about this. The idea here is that if I am able to share with you, are you going to share with me? Is there going to be some level of understanding that we have to have our feet both in the game, and one of us can't do all the providing while the other one listens and takes notes but doesn't share, because of the fear of, if I give you something of me, are you going to use it against me later? So there can't be this one foot in and one foot out. Everybody has got to have the same level of reciprocity, but you don't get that in that first date. Maybe not even that second one. But to me, I think it's best, regardless of the age here, or whether you're under 45 or over 50, you still have to gauge whether or not, if that person is willing to reciprocate the conversation and the trust. But it doesn't come right off the bat. You may need at least a good month or two to get there. But before you do, you have to look for the little common things in the first 2 or 3 meetings. But that's something that's going to have to be worked out as you go along your path here. Yep, I agree. I will give that to you, Rob. Sex is a surface level deal. So you don't have to base the entire relationship on sex. Eventually, there will be that part that comes along. That's a component that comes down the road. Now, as you get older, you would hope that someone will delay that and start looking for the possibility of a relationship. But then again, this goes back to, are you being purposeful? All right. Are you being intent on looking for the relationship, or are you just there for the sex? So it's going to vary on that individual. Sometimes it will, yes, I said sometimes, because sometimes is an unofficial unit of measure. So I don't mind if anyone uses sometimes over here, just as long as it's not too overboard, right? Excuse me. But yes, love is something that does come to the picture. It may not be right away, but that's down the road. But you have to have a whole bunch of milestones and things checked out before that word comes out. So we're looking at the very beginning of the basics right now. All right, so moving right along. So as I said, one of the first things you need to figure out in a relationship is what type of person are you? So in the very beginning, when I started my walk down the social sciences with psychology back in the mid to late 90s, there were two types of people that existed, at least in the scenario that I'm going to give. You have the growth theorist and you have the fatalist. So when you think of the growth theorist, what type of personality type is this person? So the growth theorist is someone who always looks for the good in people. They look for the redeeming value and the qualities in a relationship that can be brought, and they look for the best, and go they go hard in, so to speak. Pause. But they go in looking for the best outcomes and ensure that the actions they take will provide for a good outcome for the two people involved in the relationship. But there's a downside to the growth theorist. And the downside for the growth theorist is that this individual has a tendency to stay too long in a relationship. So when things start falling down, where you start getting to the point to whereas there's a lapse of trust, there's an issue with just common respect, a level of decency that's shown, the way that someone speaks to you, a level of honesty. They start losing that. And this person sometimes does not know how to get out of it because they'll still keep fighting, trying to make the best of a bad situation. So that is the plus and the negative of being a growth theorist. The other type here is the fatalist. Now, the fatalist is someone who is looking at the relationship to potentially fail. They'll give it a bit of a chance, but the first time a glass tips over, a sock is left in the middle of the floor, or maybe someone does not get home at a certain time, oh, I don't think we can sustain this. I don't think I can trust you, or I don't know if this is where I want to be. I'm not sure. The ground here doesn't seem stable. There's always something that may occur that will take the relationship to the bottom right from the giddy up. So, what is the downside of being with a fatalist? That fatalist sometimes does not stay in the relationship long enough to see what good can come of it because they're always looking for the bad. So, because of looking at that particular perception of the relationship may turn south because of the drop of a hat, maybe someone didn't get home from work on time, the potential of just having to trust someone that you can't see, there's always that danger with the fatalist that the relationship could end just like that. So, again, what type of person are you? Now, these are all the questions that you have to assess on your own before making that approach to the person that you want to spend your time with. Now, in the last video or a few other videos, I've made this particular comment that I'm going to go ahead and make again. You have to also take an assessment of self after you figured out who you are, after you thought about whether or not you're open, you're closed, that opportunities will be given. Are you going to expect more of someone than you are going to provide for them? All this needs to be a personal assessment that you do of yourself before talking to that other person. And then when you eventually get down to doing that, remember I talked about the personal assessment. You got to look at yourself and take in what's there. That means using the mirror. And as I've stated before, the mirror does not care about your hopes, your dreams, or your aspirations. It's merely going to reflect what is standing there. And in that sense, looking at yourself, where do you stand? All right. So, again, for the guys, we know that the ladies are still going to be at us about height. Regardless of what they tell us, that's still going to be something that weighs into that. Because when we're talking about his care and protection, ladies, a majority of you like to have a guy who is taller than you. For whatever reason, that equates to protection. So as I said before, there's 3 levels or 4 levels of height that I chalk everything up as. You got 5 foot to 5'9". You got 5'10" to 6 feet. You got 6'1" to 6'5". And then you have 6'6" and above, to which I call the God level power up. But the safe zone for the majority of men will be in between 5'10" and 6 feet, or falling in that range, the 5'10" to 6 feet range. That's where you want to fall in if you can. If not, because a lot of us get to a certain stage where we max out right about 5'8", 5'9". So again, luckily, I hit right in the middle on the 6 feet side of things. But for those who don't make it there, that means that I'm going to have to be, if I'm that guy, I've got to be a little bit more measured about my approach. I've got to think a little bit more about how I need to present myself. Because if we look at the 5 senses, sight, smell, sound, taste, and touch, the first thing that's got to be conquered, you've got to get past that physical aspect. She has to be able to look at you and believe that you are somebody that she can be with. That has to be the first and foremost that comes forward. If you do not do anything in your life, whereas you do not meet the 6 feet rule, don't worry about that. You can still make up for that with your conversation. You can still make up with your physicality. I may not be able to grow tall, but I can get wide as anything. The gym is the equalizer, gentlemen. Don't let her tell you anything different. As I've said before, men chase, but women choose. However, she can be persuaded if you are her type. And if you may not be her type exactly, you can still get a leg up. Why? Because a woman knows who she's looking for when she gets up in the morning. Therefore, if you get her time, you're either the guy she's looking for or an acceptable alternative until the guy she wants comes along. So keep that in mind. So work towards that, guys. As I said before, your care and your protection is worth a lot, but she still has to work on that. So ladies, coming back to you, listen to some of the things I'm mentioning here that guys are going to work on, that they're going to make sure that they have a level of qualification to get your attention. But then at that point, now you need to determine what is it that you can offer him for the care and protection that you desire. Zero style would always smell good. I'm telling you, man, sometimes you have got to put effort into making sure that the basics are covered. You stick to those 5 things: sight, sound, meaning what you say to her, smell, something that's going to appeal to her, like, all right, hey, that's what we're talking about. Ooh, I love that. I've gotten numerous comments just standing in the grocery store. Oh, I love what you're wearing. Hey, it's so and so. I get a little bit closer if she's someone I'm interested in, or I simply say thank you if she's not. But nonetheless, good smell goes a long way. You get down to that taste deal. Either you cook for her or you take her out someplace that's good for the palate. And then eventually, if it works out, maybe she can get you can get her to come to your space and cook. Maybe you might go over to her place. You guys will cook together. But once you clear those first 4 barriers, the last one, which is touch, you should have learned enough about each other that allows that slide in. All right. But moving right along. So as I said before, you need to be able to assess your inventory of what you bring. You've got to make sure that your assessments are in place. All right. So, ladies, let's look at this from a standpoint. We keep hearing the conversation. What is it that a man is looking for? All right. What is it that he wants? Ask yourself this question before. All right. Not after he shows up, but before you get there, you have to sit down and think about it. What is it that he's going to be looking for? Now, as I said last week, when he is trying to earn your submission, we need to be responsible for focus, guidance, direction, discipline, security, stability, masculinity, fitness, knowledge, care, protection. As I said before, that needs to be rolled right off the tongue. If not, ask, well, um, what is it that I can expect from you when it gets to that point in the conversation or the relationship? But these are the things you should already be thinking of and practicing along that way. But what is it that we're going to be looking for from you? Well, you've heard this many times before. It's become a mantra, dare I even say dogma, but it still bears saying: feminine, fit, friendly, fertile, depending on your age, cooperative, agreeable, showing discernment, discretion. Same thing that we're looking for would be knowledge, understanding, and peace. Now, we've already covered the submission part, so we don't need to go through that again. But this is what we as fellas are going to be looking for from you. Now, that is important to know that my care and protection that I'm going to provide to you needs to make sure, or I need to make sure if I'm going to be offering that to you, what is it that I can expect in return? All right, so think of this as puff, puff, give. There's reciprocity to this. Sometimes all it takes is to keep your hair cut, stay clean, keep your clothes ironed, wear nice cologne, and a clean STD result. Now, I'm not going to lie about that, man. All that does come into play. Now, the most immediate things will go back to what we're talking about, appearance. So this goes back to what I was saying before about the five senses. We're talking about sight. Now, if you can, you need to make sure you do a little bit extra, guys, such as if you have to, get your fingers done. All right. I will not ever knock a man anymore about getting a manicure done for his hands and a pedicure for your feet. I'm here to tell you, all it takes is some rough feet to cut her leg one too many times. Hey, it's a done. It's a done deal. It's a wrap. So also when you're in the gym working out, do something about your hands so you don't have calluses all on it. Just rough and just cutting up on your edge. I remember one time I had a girlfriend who said, "Here, give me your hands." I'm like, "Oh, okay. What's going to happen here?" And instead of what I thought was going to happen, she took my hand and ran it up my arm. And damn if I didn't say, "Ow, whoa, whoa." I said, "Yeah, that's what it feels like when you put your hands on me." I'm like, "Goddamn." So that was the lesson. Yeah, you got feet like Velociraptor claws. Yeah, I'm not gonna even fade you on that, man. That's what my feet used to look like. I put it this way: I had a girlfriend that for about 2 years or so, every time she came and we got in bed, when we got down to the skins, I still had my socks on. That's how crazy my feet used to be until I started taking care of them. So nowadays, every 2 weeks, or actually every other week or so, I get out here, I get the hands done and get the feet done also. So you have got to make sure there's a certain level of grooming that goes into it, guys. But ladies, for you, there's a certain level of grooming that we're looking for also. So, what are you doing as far as maintaining your appearance? All right, are you getting out? Are you exercising on a regular? All right, are you making sure that um, you are, yes, shaving your legs? All right, because not too many of us want to have someone lying in bed next to us who has the same amount of hair on their legs or more. All right. All right. No, 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 no. We just cannot go through that. And while we're talking about that, okay, what are you doing for your fingers? What are you doing for your toes? Obviously, we know that there's a level of maintenance that the girls go through. There's your hairs, there's your makeup, the lashes, uh, fingernails. Now, I, for one, speaking of myself, I'm not a fan of these, 4 or 5 inch claws or things of that nature. I'm real. This is the only time you probably ever hear me say conservative. When it comes around to your fingernails, this some French tips or something like that. Maybe it's a little bit off nail, but nothing that's extravagant to where you're talking about instead of having velociraptor feet like Rob was talking about, you've got the claws in your hands and things of that nature. Yeah, me myself, not about that. So, ugh, armpits, man, I'm gonna leave you to that. That's all you, Rob. So, still, there's that level of care that she needs to take also. So let's also talk about not just your physical care, there's your mental care. All right, what type of conversation can I expect from you? What type of background or upbringing have you had? So, are you a manipulative person? Are you controlling? All right, do you give the benefit of the doubt? Let's think about this. When people meet up, if you are the guy that she wants to spend her time with, she will give you all the answers to the test. So a partner and I used to call this the open book test. Shout out to you, Randy, if you happen to catch this. So the way that the open book test worked is simple enough. It's exactly what it sounds like. If you are the guy that she's interested in, she will make sure that you have all the answers to the test. If you're that guy who keeps getting in her way, rolling up on, hey, what's good? What's good? Hey, so what you got going on? Can I holler at you? She's going to give you a little bit of play, but not the play that's going to let you really get into the classroom, sit down and ace the test. But she'll give you some extra work to do that doesn't count for anything, extra credit work that doesn't really go anywhere. Now, there's another lesson that I'll throw in here that's called beauty entices manipulation, but that's for a later date. I hit on it before, just to give you a quick idea about that. When I say beauty entices manipulation, I'm talking about a person's level of attractiveness that gets people to believe that they have a shot with them, provided that person doesn't tell them, no, you don't have a shot at all. There's no play here for you. But that attractive person will depend upon what's known as the halo effect. And the halo effect simply states that if a person is attractive, they probably are, excuse me, they probably are a good person also. No, that is not the case. More so often, a person who is on the higher end of the scale of attraction will say um, 7 through 10 on a scale of 1 through 10. If they're on that other side of the scale, they know when people are interested in them, which means that there's a possibility that they can get certain things done for them just by letting that person believe there's a shot for them. Again, different show. So, as I said before, an open book. This is my excuse me. I have to keep messing with my levels here. As I said, an open book here. If you are what that person is looking for, there is no question that you will get all the answers you need. But at the same time, let's stop and think about this. What type of individual are we talking about? Is this a person who understands that there will be a conflict in relationships at time? That sometimes he may make you smile, he may make you laugh, but you may be angry as well after something he's done. But if there's a way that you two can meet in the middle and communicate, you can get past those things. But there are times where there are people that you meet who are from a dysfunctional type of background. And when you meet people from dysfunctional backgrounds, when you get to these areas in your relationships where there are issues, then that becomes a problem because you're never going to know what's going to be there when you walk in the front door. So, again, keeping with the topic of ladies earning his care and protection, when he comes home, no, let's take that back because I don't want to get too far. We're talking about a living situation. Let's back away from that. Let's say that if she happens to be at his place, okay, you happen to be at his place. He's gone out. He's gotten back late. He didn't get back when he said he was going to. You get into an argument. How you argue is going to play a role in where this relationship goes in the future. Now, being angry is easy. It's easy to be angry, right? But it's hard to be angry at the right person to the right degree for the right thing at the right moment. Now, that is hard. And someone who has not learned to be angry or to even have a discussion when their emotions are wilding out, that tends to be a problem because now you're just going to be walking on eggshells. You don't know what type of response you're going to get. The person can either blow up or they may retreat to whereas instead of just getting it off their chest in, let's say, a constructive manner, I'm angry because of this. You may end up with nothing at all, or you may get passive aggressive, or you may just get absolute freak out. But these type of things, ladies, when again I mentioned peace, there's a level of peace that I'd be looking for. But also, if I'm to blame, if I'm the one who's set this tone, then I need to be the first person to have the conversation with you to make amends. But if I'm able to make amends, what I would hope that would come from her is the ability to meet me halfway and say, okay, I see what you did. You didn't mean to. However, it made me feel this way. Now, being able to have that type of conversation, which again goes towards peace. If I am seeing that you're able to rationalize and go through a conversation like that, there's some good times ahead. No doubt about it. Lustful cynicism. All right, true, true. So going forward, again, being angry is one thing, but knowing how to be angry does a lot when you're dealing with him, ladies. So we don't know what type of day that he's had because we all have to keep in mind here that in the end, if there's a bump in the night, if there's a threat outside, it's going to come back to him or us having to take the brunt of it, or hopefully not the bullet. Just think about this. There are three things that we know, or at least if women are honest, that they do not want to engage in when it comes to making their bread, right? She doesn't want to be exerted. She doesn't want to stink. And she does not want to deal with danger on a day to day basis. That is what falls squarely on us. That is something that has become expected. Hence, why I say his care and protection is not automatic. Because if I don't have peace, if I don't have the ability to speak with you, if I do not have reciprocity, if I'm not feeling as if the effort I'm putting in is being exchanged, why am I here? So there's still going to be that level of reciprocity that comes into play. So coping skills are going to be another thing that sits in top here, right? I am going to be looking for a woman who has the ability to cope and work through difficulties, to work through disappointments. And if I brought it on, I need to be the first person to say something. If I've done something and I don't recognize that, then what I would hope to happen is that you let me know. Don't put me in a position to where I have to guess what it is you think I've done wrong. Remember now, this is the point to where you're working on trying to ensure that I want to protect you, that I want to be the man there for you. So I need to be able to communicate and understand that there's a level of trust that exists between us. I need to know that if I've offended you in any way, shape, or form, let me know, have the discussion with me. Don't put me in a position to where I'm having to constantly ask. Well, I'm at that age, I just don't ask anymore. Ask a few times, and if it gets to the point to whereas the conversation is empty, I'm waiting for a response, I'm continually asking, then that means that I need to back away for a little bit and let this go. You tell me something crazy like, well, um, I've told this to you X amount of times. Okay, so you've told me something X amount of times, but now I'm asking you, what is it specifically? So if there's been a whole bunch of times, there's been a lot of stuff said. It's the same way as you were to ask her, okay, here's what we've discussed before. Do you recall this? I don't read minds. Okay, well, let me give this to you specifically. If I can give that to her specifically, then in turn, if I ask, where's the problem? What am I missing? Let me know. I would expect the same thing in return. If you can't get that, okay, back away for a little bit. Let it go. But these are things that you find in relationships for folks who've known each other for 7, 8, 10 years, whereas they've had a relationship of some sort, but they haven't really solidified it, but still they've been together. Who knows? They may have even had sex on occasions over the years. Who knows? But the thing is that there has to be a level of reciprocity when problems occur, and I need to know, because if I'm going to put my life on the line for you, if I'm going to be here and I want you to be there with me because of the fact that my care, my protection is dependent upon your communication with me, you need to communicate with me. Again, that's just my perspective. I'm not sure how anyone else handles that, but I would say across the board, guys, your care and your protection is very important. It should be important to her also. Important enough that she wants to let you know what it is that's going wrong. So she can be a part to help fix it. Ladies, I hope you're hearing this. It is up to you to let us know if we missed anything. If there's some type of oversight, let us know. Give us the opportunity to fix it. Because if you're able to communicate with me and be open with the communication, then I have no problem making sure that I'm doing what I need to do to ensure your safety. So we also have to look at aspects where people are unwilling to acknowledge the failures and the failings in certain relationships. So what you end up sometimes dealing with is a person who is going to overemphasize your failures, but not focus on what it is that they might be contributing to the negativity. Again, ladies, this is about building his level of trust. If I am seeing failures in your ability to provide some level of reciprocity and I bring it to you, what I don't want to hear is, well, remember this particular time? And it becomes a thing of deflection. I don't want to say to you, this is the issue I have. I am providing this for you. I am doing this to ensure this for you. What is it that you are not able to do? Or better yet, why is it that you are not able to do X, Y, Z? And there's always a deflection. That's not going to play well down the road here. So if I'm going to ask for, I don't know, what's a good way to put it? Oh, Fatty, what's good, man? Glad you could make it. Hey, thanks for sharing the link, by the way. So again, if I'm going to put it out here and let you know that I want to be your protector and your provider and the person to care for you, your life, your physical and mental well-being, I need to know that if I have an issue to bring with you, that we're going to be able to discuss this as opposed to being a deflective argument that ends up going round and round. Where do we go with this? All we're going to do is put us on the path to where second thoughts start becoming the first thoughts, and we don't want to do that. Definitely not. So as a man, the thing I need to learn most of all is to recognize where inside of the relationship do I first start seeing issues of control, of reciprocity, of equality. You're not going to find that in the first date or the second date, or let's say if we're past that point, we're talking to where now there's actual dating going on. You need to be cognizant, meaning aware of what you're hearing or what you are not hearing. As I mentioned previously, or at the very start of this video, it is very easy to be the person in the relationship who is always making suggestions, coming up with the ideas, or opening yourself up and making yourself vulnerable to that other person who is merely sitting down. Mm-hmm. Oh, really? Oh, yeah. So, how did that make you feel at that point in time? So, what did you do? It's almost as if there's an inventory they're taking. You are producing, but they're not sharing. So, you've got this unequal footing now, to whereas you've shared a majority of information about yourself because you want to be open, like a book. And there's nothing wrong with that. Now, obviously, there's boundaries and everything, but if you're finding, and if you got to be, again, you got to be aware about this. If you're finding that you yourself are doing more opening and sharing than the other person is returning, you need to pull back a little bit and be more intentional about certain questions you ask. So, what was your childhood like growing up? What were your parents like? How were your parents behaving if, or what did your parents do if X happened? All right. How did your parents deal with such situation? If you find, oh, I really don't want to talk about that. That's real personal. Start looking at how often you hear, oh, I don't want to talk about that. I don't want to talk about that. But yet they're willing to ask you, so what did your parents do? So this is that foot in, foot out thing, to whereas you either in it or you are not. Try not to give anything and everything you can away when having these type of conversations. Again, we're trying to set that ground here. And again, ladies, if he is able to share certain things with you, you need to be prepared to share back as well. It's all about gaining his trust, because my care and protection also deals with the level of trust. I need the trust that if I mention certain things to you, that you will either keep that in confidence, or you will recall that when situations come up and I'm just maybe down. I just need a minute just to sit down and catch my breath. I've got my hands in my head for a couple of seconds or so, but because I've shared certain things with you, you know what to do in those situations. Even if it's just a glass of sweet tea while I'm sitting down, or who knows, maybe a particular meal, or just the fact you sit down, put your hand on my shoulder or my leg, grab my hand, and then just say, "Hey, what's going on?" Let's have those moments. You have to be able to make those. All right. That's where that commitment comes from. So there's a lot of things that you have to base in a relationship when you start looking at where are we going to go here? What is it that this woman needs from me to ensure that I protect her? So a lot of that is going to come also after he's fulfilling his part. As I said before, focus, guidance, discipline, uh, direction, also looking at his masculinity, his level of fitness. Now, these are things that we have to keep in mind. I have to be in shape to a certain degree to make sure that if there is anything as far as confrontation, that I'm able to respond as I need to. Now, how safe, ladies, are you going to feel with a guy who sits around, uh, plays video games all day? Not to poke at some of you guys who play videos, but let's say makes a habit of it, doesn't really take care of himself. The question I would ask now is, how did you meet a guy like that? But, now let me not be saucy like that. There is some truth to opposites attract. Yes, there's truth to that. But when I think of opposites attract, I still go back to the five senses, all right? Sight, sound, smell, taste, and touch. So let's say he's an opposite, whereas he did appeal to her physically. She saw him, he's a tall dude, he's attractive to her. He found her to be attractive, but he's more of a gym rat. He wants to work out a lot of the times, where she likes to sit at home, maybe watch TV, take a movie, read a book. But they may have something in common, to whereas there's a certain food they like, or there's a certain place that they enjoy. But still, when they are together, they find the time to find something that works for the both of them. Even though, let's say he may like whitewater rafting, he's an outdoors type of person, or herself, she is just an inside person. You know, she likes to shop, she likes to bake, or whatnot. But there's a commonality between them that happens to work. Now, I think I may have skipped over this, and I probably did. So let's also take the time for me to mention complementary styles. Now, a complementary style is going to, it's really going to go the distance. That's going to make things worthwhile. So when I say a complementary style, I'm talking about, um, again, let's say he likes, or excuse me, she likes to cook, he likes to eat. Works out well, doesn't it? All right. He likes to be in charge. She doesn't mind having directions given to her. Works out fine. Or she likes to take charge. He's a guy who likes to see a woman throw her weight around. Works out, right? Again, complementary styles. But what happens when she likes to be in charge and he likes to be in charge? Now, there may be something else that the two share in common, but those two personality types eventually are going to be dueling. You're going to have dueling personality types now, to whereas he always wants to take the lead, but then she feels she should take the lead. So if they can't decide which way to go in this relationship, you're always going to have this headbutting going on, or even worse yet, a level of competition. So the question now is that how do I build any type of presence here to whereas I want to provide care and protection for someone who's always challenging me and wanting to be the final decision maker. Now that doesn't mean that you don't have relationships to whereas you've got those type of A personality types. But then I would say in that relationship, let the situation dictate. Now, ideally, that's the way it should be anyway. The situation will dictate who will utilize what they know best to make sure that there's an answer that both of them can live with. But if you're not in that type of relationship, let's say it goes back more to a traditional thing of I'm the man of the house. It is my job to ensure the welfare and being of everyone in there. That is going to be the job onto him, or excuse me, the job unto him. I can't think of the movie. It'll come to me. This was back in the days when I was younger and dating. There was a movie called, excuse me, My Big Fat uh, Greek Wedding, something along those lines. I think it was My Big Fat Greek Wedding. There's a part in the movie where the wife, who was the mother of the main character, she made the statement, he may be the head who is responsible for thinking things through and providing the decision, but I am the neck and I can turn the head in certain directions. I laughed at that because I thought, yeah, that there is some truth in that. As a man, I'm not always going to catch everything, but it's good to know that if I do have a moment where something slips through the cracks, she's there to pick it up and make it known to me, hey, we need to do this possibly. Here's a level of correction that we need to add to this. That is someone that is worth their weight. Yes, she is making a good case why care and protection should be hers. She's there to back you up. When I slip and fall, if she's not able to catch my big ass, at least she might be able to do something to soften the landing. Nothing better than a woman who knows that if she can't do the heavy lifting, she can do something to make sure that if there's a slip and fall, she can put some padding there to make sure I'm not down for too long and the fall isn't that bad. So the question will now come into how far do we go in this relationship? Where do we take this to make sure that, again, ladies, care and protection that he's going to provide for you has been adhered to by yourself to ensure that everything is done to give him that feeling of, yeah, she's worth it. Yeah, this is what I want to see. This is what I would expect. Excuse me, what I would expect for what I'm putting out here. That is a feeling that I can tell you when everything is going good in the relationship, it's unmatched. Knowing that if you need to take a minute to just sit down, just to rest your head for a second, she's there to make sure you got that moment. You can say, "Hey, look, I just need a minute, girl. Can I tap out for a second?" And she says, "Yeah, baby, I got this. Go ahead, rest your head." That is also a feeling of empowerment. Even just saying that, there's goosebumps thinking that if you have that woman who's there to give you that time to know that I can't carry the world every day. Sometimes I need to take a break. And she's understanding of that, where she can say, yes, maybe I understand. Sit down for a minute. Ask yourself, what what else can compare to that, fellas? And ladies, what is it that you can do to ensure that moment occurs? Peace, discretion, discernment, cooperation. Now, understand you're still going to have your say here and there. Now, that's one thing that I want to make sure that's known. You are not a slave, you're not a servant. No, by no means. However, understand just because you can speak doesn't mean that anyone wants to hear something all the time. And that goes for the fellas as well. All right. Sometimes we have to understand that there's a certain level to where we need to back off and say, okay, I think I may have said enough. Let me let this marinate for a bit. All right, back away, give it time, let it go. Oh, excuse me. So, what is it that can damage your opportunities of being protected and cared for? All right, ladies, now level with me here. Let's be honest. Have you ever been the type of woman who says, I want a man who knows how to put me in my place? Have you ever been that type of lady? Have you ever known any friends, any relatives who have this thing of, well, I'm not going to deal with that old F ninja because he couldn't put me in my place when he needed to. Wait a minute. Put you in your place when he needed to. That means that you knew that you were doing something that you didn't need to be doing. Or let's call it what it is, pardon the language, folks, a shit test. Why are you needling me to get a response? Oh, you just gonna sit here and just let me do such and such? Oh, what type of ninja are you? Man, I can't respect the man who's just gonna let me do what I want to do. So whoa, 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 whoa. It's not about me letting you do what you want to do. It's about you recognizing that if you're not mature enough to not do what you're doing, why do I need to be here? If you can't regulate yourself, why are you looking at me to do that job? You're an adult. It's the same thing. Whereas if I think we had this conversation on Fatty's panel just the other day, where you have a woman who has children, you're the stepdad, and she doesn't teach these children how to respect this man who is taking time out of his life to include them in his. All right. He's being responsible for everybody in the house who is not his blood, but these children have not been shown by her to respect this man. The worst thing that can happen is you have a woman say, well, it's not up for me to make my kids respect him. That's what he needs to do. That's why he's the man of the house. I do not see care and protection very long for that situation. Matter of fact, depending upon when it starts out, the first time I see that, I may make one suggestion, maybe two or three statements, and then I'm gone. All right. I will play the role of the growth theorist for so long. But again, does a man really need to put a woman in her place, especially if she knows she's out of place on purpose, just to see what he does? Nah, yeah, I'm not entertaining that. Now, I've seen a lot of women who have bragged about, yeah, that F Ninja was no good. Couldn't hold me down like he needed to. I don't need a man like that. I need a man who's going to show me where my place is. All right, yeah. So when you meet the wrong guy who shows you where your place is, where he gets physical with you, now where's the issue? Whose fault is it? Oh, he hits you. Oh, I'm gonna tell my daddy you hit me. All right, so now we're getting into deeper areas where her care and protection has been jeopardized because of her behavior. And also, you have to look at who she brought into the relationship with, and she tried him because of the fact that I need to know what type of ninja you are. Fellas, no, don't even get into that. Care and protection is something that she has to earn. All right, she has to earn this through being agreeable, showing discretion, discernment, there's trust, and again, there's peace. These simple, these simple items here. Here's another thing here. Ladies, now I know there's not a lot of you right now here in the chat live. There's only been a couple of folks who stopped through, Robert and Fatty, but as always, there's the replay. So if you catch this in the replay, put it inside the chat. Have any of you, again, if there's ladies watching, have any of you ever said, I can be feminine for the right man? All right, now listen to me say this. I can be masculine for the right woman. Now, how off does that sound? yeah, I can be masculine, but maybe for the right woman. But if you're not the right woman, then what am I being? As a man, I don't have any choice but to be masculine because that is the role society has painted for me, or should I say for us. So your care and protection that you're expecting from me needs to be something that you see all the time. How confident are you going to be that I'm going to ensure the best for you if my masculinity is a part-time thing? If I'm going to be masculine sometimes and then others not? Would you even want to deal with a man like that? Come on, let's be honest, ladies. The answer is no. Why would you want to deal with a man whose masculinity is sometime? All right, now let's switch that around. Why would I want to deal with a woman who says that, oh, I can be feminine for the right man? No, you're supposed to be feminine all the time. That's the deal here. I want to ensure that my care and protection is for that woman, that feminine woman that I'm with. Now, that's not to say that you can't get out here and learn your little Muay Thai, boxing, whatever. By all means, just defend yourself. But overall, there still needs to be a level of care and concern and protection that I'm responsible for. But I can't see putting myself out there for someone whose level of femininity comes and goes with the breeze. Now, since we're talking about that, let's look at another aspect that kind of blows a hole in the game here. When you listen to women talk about, well, I had to be in my masculine because there's no man here who was around to do what I needed, so I had to do it. No, let's look at it from this perspective. There was no man around because no guy is going to deal with a woman who feels the need to act masculine. Nah, I mean, sitting here and women bragging, oh, well, I had to be getting my masculine for a moment. No, no, you didn't have to. If you got in your masculine because there's no man there because he doesn't want to deal with that type of nonsense. Now, this may sound one sided, but I'm just going to give my perspective on this. And I'm pretty sure anyone else who catches the replay, hopefully they'll chime in as well. But the thing here is that a masculine behaving woman is going to lead things to a confrontation, no doubt about it. So whereas now her feeling the need that, well, I got to be in my masculine. Oh, what? So you're going to try and be masculine with someone whose natural masculinity may not tolerate this. A woman who is feminine doesn't talk about being masculine because her femininity is always going to be something that a man who portrays masculinity will come to her aid. I think there was another question that was on a panel I was with where I had ended up watching certain behaviors or certain conversation that I'm having right now, funny enough with myself. But there was a conversation where it was stated, well, if you men were being the men you need to be, I wouldn't have to be in my masculine. And the response went back, well, wait a minute. If you were being the female that you're supposed to be, why would masculinity ever come up? So it was back and forth, back and forth. So then I eventually asked the question, hey, ladies, tell me something. Is a non virtuous woman deserving of the benefit of chivalry? Real simple. Ask yourself, does a non virtuous woman deserve the benefits of chivalry? It's like saying, is a man who fails to regulate his behavior deserving of being called or treated as a gentleman? The answer is right there. So, no is the appropriate response. If you cannot portray what it is that you claim to be or what someone would presume you to be, then there's nothing to have a discussion about. So, getting back on the topic, ladies, again, is care and protection does not need to run afoul of a woman feeling the need to say that, oh, I have to get in my masculine, or sometimes I need to be masculine. No, if you need to be masculine, that means that you are by yourself because of certain behaviors. And wanting to be masculine might be one of those. It doesn't work here. Again, care and protection. something that should be equal to what he's providing for you if he is looking to earn your submission. If he's going to work to earn your submission, then you need to work just as well to earn his care and his protection. All right, puff, puff, give, as Smokey said. It's the principalities. All right, well, that's pretty much all I wanted to get off my chest for the evening. Again, having this discussion of care and protection not being automatic, it is something that you have to work for, ladies. Again, if I'm going to put in time to earn your submission, which is your trust, then I need to make sure that the protection that I put out there is going to be worth it as well. There's got to be a level of reciprocity that works for both of us, all right? All right, so that being said, let me go ahead and put it out there because you know it's coming. Find somebody who knows somebody to tell somebody about what's going on over here. If you like it, let me know. Share it if you do. And by all means, subscribe if this is what you're looking for. So as always, I thank anyone for joining me for the conversation. And again, the replay is available for those who didn't make it live. Thanks for those who did tune in. And I will see you on another episode of A Value Conversation, Gen X Spoken Word. John Henry out.